You're welcome to this tutorial session, and our focus at this moment will be on the topic called factorization. How do we factorize numbers, or how do we factorize a given algebraic expression? But before we proceed, let's get to know the definition or the meaning of factorization. So factorization is the process of breaking down. Keynote here is the process of breaking down numbers or algebraic expressions into a product of smaller numbers. So you break down algebraic expression or numbers into a product of smaller numbers. So product here means multiplication. You break down a given algebraic expression or numbers into a product so that when you multiply them, it will give you back your original expression or your original numbers. So these are numbers 12, 20, and 25. These are all numbers. And when we are talking about algebraic expression, we are not talking about relating it with variables. Like if I say x plus 2x. So these are algebraic expression. When you relate numbers with variables, they become an algebraic expression. So now let's go to see how we can factorize numbers, or how we can factorize an algebraic expression. For example, if you want to factorize 12, let's say we want to factorize 12, how are we going to go about this? So we say by definition it is the process of breaking down numbers into the product of smaller numbers. So you break 12 into smaller numbers so that if you multiply this number, it will give you back 12. So to break down 12, the smaller number, how are you going to break it down? You have 2 can go into 12. If you divide 2 by 12, it will give you 6. Then if you divide 2 by 6, it will give you 3. So you can now see that if you multiply 2 times 2 times 3, it gives you back 12. So that is all about factorization. You break down number into the product of smaller terms. That's the lowest terms that you can break this number. So 2 times 2 is 4, and 4 times 3 is 12. So you have these are the factors of 12. 2, 2, 3. So are the factors of 12. So what if, for instance, you want to factorize x plus 2x? How do you factorize x plus 2x? So it's very simple. In this case now, you will look at the number or the value or the time that is common to these two expressions. So if you look at it, we have x plus 2x, meaning that x is common to the two. So how do you factorize it? It will be, you bring out the common factor of the two expressions. So the common factor here is x. Then you open a bracket. Then you now think of which number are you going to multiply, so that when you multiply it, it will give you back x. That is this x. You now think of a number, when you multiply this x with, it will give you back the first x there. So the number is 1, because 1 x times 1 is still x. Then you now also think of a number that when you multiply it with x, that is this x, when you multiply it with this x, it will give you back 2x. So the number is 2. You take note of the sign at the middle there is plus 2. So this is the factorization of this particular expression, because um, x times 1 will give you x, and x times 2 will give you 2x. You can see it has returned back the original expression given to you. So this is how you factorize numbers. So what about how do you factorize um, a quadratic expression, or how do you factorize a number when it is written in this form? X squared minus 5x plus 6. So how do you factorize in this particular case? So to factorize this is very simple. There are just two steps involved. Step 1, you check the coefficient of x squared. This is x squared, and when I say coefficient, I means the number attached to it. For example, if I said 2x squared, the coefficient of x squared there is 2. If I said 5x squared, the coefficient of x squared there is 5. If I said 3x squared, the coefficient of x squared there is 3. So how or what is the coefficient of x squared? Because the problem we have now, we have x squared minus 5x minus plus 6 rather. So the first thing you need to do is to know the coefficient of x squared. So in this case here, the coefficient of x squared is not written boldly. And I've already told you, when it is only x, know that 1 is attached to it. So here the coefficient of x squared is 1, because that is, if it is more than 1, it will be written boldly, maybe 2, 3, 4. But when it is not written, note that the coefficient of x squared is 1. So what do you do now that you have known the coefficient of x squared? What do you do with it? You are going to multiply the coefficient of x squared with the constant term. What is the constant term here? The constant term here is 6, because 6 doesn't have x. It is only 6, so it doesn't have x. So that is why it is called constant. So you're going to multiply the coefficient of x squared with 6. Multiply coefficient of x squared with the constant. So our constant here is 6. So if we multiply 1 times 6, it will still give us 6. It will still give us back 6. So what do we do next? So the next thing we are to do is now to find two numbers. Let's write the expression x squared minus 5x. So when we multiply the constant term with the coefficient of x, we got 6. So now let's find two numbers that if you add them, when you add them, it will give you minus 5x, and by the time you multiply them, it will give you plus 6. Two numbers that if you add them, it will give you minus 5x. Take note of the sign, it will give you minus 5x. And when you multiply these two numbers, it will give you plus 6. So the two numbers, very fast, the two numbers are minus 3 minus 2. So if you add minus 3 and 2, that is minus 3x minus 2x, it will give you 5x, right? Minus 5x. It will give you minus 5x. So if you multiply 3 and 2, it will give you 6. So these are the two numbers. So that when you add them, it will give you minus 5x. That's the number at the middle. And when you multiply them, it will give you that constant, which is 6. So now, the next thing you have to do is now to bring these two numbers and replace it with the number at the middle, which is minus 5x. Bring these two numbers and replace it with the number at the middle. So we will have x squared. We said our two numbers are minus 3x and minus 2x. So if you add them now, it will give you this minus 5x at the middle. If you add them, it will give you minus 5x at the middle. So that is why just write it this way. Then plus 6, your constant, plus 6. So what is your next step? Because we are almost done now. Your next step now is to separate, because we now have four terms. We have x squared minus 3x minus 2x plus 6. So we now separate these particular terms. So we'll have separated this way. So this is how you separate it. This will go like this, and then this will go like this. So you can see that you have x squared minus 3x minus 2x in the other bracket plus 6. So the next thing to do now is to factor out. So let's look at the first bracket here, which is this, and see what is the common factor there. So the common factor there is x. So the common factor there is x, because x is common to the two numbers there, is common to x squared, and is also common to 3x. So you bring out the common factor x. Open your bracket now. Then you now see which number are you going to multiply it with x to give you back x squared. Which number are you going to multiply this x that will give you back x squared, because you are factorizing. So the number or the variable will be x. So when you multiply x with x, it will give you back this x squared. And then which number are you going to multiply it with x to give you back the other 3x? So the number is 3, because x times 3 will give you back 3x. So you have factored out this. Then you now come to the other bracket and check which number is common to them. So if you look at the two, we have 2x and we have 6. So the only number that is common to them is 2. This is because 2 can divide 2, and then 2 can also divide 6. So how do you go? You now factor out the common number. We have minus. Don't forget the sign there. You bring out the common number, the common factor, which is 2. Then now open your bracket. So you have minus 2. What are you going to multiply it with to give you back this 2x? So it's simply x, because if you multiply 2 with x, it will give you back 2x. And then which number are you going to multiply 2 with to give you back 6? So the number is 3, but you take note of the sign. 6 there is plus 6, it is not minus 6. And here our common factor of 2 is minus 2. So you have to take note of the sign and be careful with it. Don't if you write plus 3, it will be wrong, because minus 2 times plus 3, it will give you minus 6, and we are interested in getting plus 6. So we have to be very careful with the sign. So the answer here will be minus 3. So minus 2 times minus 3 will give us back plus 6, and that will be the correct step for us. So now, having done this step, your final step now is to observe the observe these stages here and see. If you observe, you see that we have in bracket x minus 3 appearing 2 times. We have x minus 3 on one side, and we also have x minus 3 on the other side. It appeared 2 times, so we are going to carry 1. We have x minus 3. Then the numbers outside, that is the numbers that are not in the bracket, then we'll now put them in the bracket. So the numbers that are not in the bracket, we have x, and we also have minus 2. So we'll now put them x minus 2. So this is the factorization of this particular expression. So if you expand this now, it will give you back the original expression, the original problem that you are asked to factorize. So if you expand this, you have that original problem. So this is the solution. So let's take one more example, and we call it a day. So let's say we have 9x squared plus 30x plus 25. So I said your first step is to know the coefficient of x squared. In this case, our coefficient of x squared is 9. So we are going to multiply the coefficient of x squared with the constant. So the constant here is 25. So that is 9 times 25. And that will give you 225. 225. So you'll be having 225. So the next step now, or let's write it, x squared plus 30x plus 225. So now we are going to look for two numbers that if we multiply them, it will give us 225, and when we add them, it will give us 30x. So very fast, the two numbers are 15 and 15. So if you add 15 and 15, it will give you 30x, and if you multiply 15 and 15, it will give you 225. So your next step will be 9x squared plus 15x. Instead of writing 30 now, you just write the two numbers that you have gotten, plus 15x plus 15x. Then you now write 25, you no longer write the 225, you just write 25. So the reason why we use this 225 is just to get the two numbers that we are going to add to get the middle term. So that's why we use that 225. So now we bring out our original 25. So coming to this stage now, you now separate the two expressions, separate them. So when you separate them, you now look for the common factors of each of these expressions. So the common factor there, if you look at it, you see that x is common to the two of them, and also 3 is also common to the two of them, because 3 can divide 9 and 3 can divide 15. So the common factor here is 3x. So you look for a number that when you multiply it, it will give you 9x squared. So the number is 3x, because 3x times 3x will give you 9x. Then plus a number that when you multiply it with 3x, it will give you 15x. So that number is 5, because 3x times 5 will give you back 15x. Plus, you factor out the other side, look at the common factor there. If you observe, we have 15x and we have 25. The number that is common to the two terms there is 5, because 5 can divide 15 and also 5 can divide 25. So now bring out 5. It's not 5x, because 25 doesn't have x, so only 5 is common to the two terms. So you have 5 outside, then open bracket. So which number are you going to multiply it that will give you back 15x? So the number is 3x. So if you multiply 5 with 3x, it will give you back 15x. And then also, which number are you going to multiply it with 5 to give you back 25? So the number is 5. That is plus 5. So 5 times 5 will give you back 25. So coming to this stage now, you look at the expression and see if the two brackets have common numbers. So if the two brackets have common numbers, you take one and then you multiply with the number outside the bracket. So the number outside the brackets are 3x and 5. 3x and plus 5. The number outside the bracket are, these are the number 3x and plus 5. So we now bring it outside or put it inside the bracket, 3x plus 5. Then we multiply it with the number inside the bracket. So we have two common numbers. So this is 1 and then this is the other. So if the number is the same, we now carry 1. So the numbers are common, 3x plus 5, and the other one is also 3x plus 5. So we'll carry 1. We'll take 1. So we have 3x plus 5. And this is it. You're done factorizing this particular expression. So by the time we expand this bracket, you get back the original expression. When you expand the bracket, you get back the original expression. So this is how you factorize, and that is why they say factorization is just the process of breaking down numbers or algebraic expressions into smaller terms. You break it down into smaller terms or into smaller terms of numbers or algebraic expression, and this is the smaller times of this number. This is the lowest form of this particular number. So by the time you multiply it, you get back the original expression. So thank you for joining this tutorial session. I am really grateful, and in case you have any question, you can still reach out to me. So thank you so much. See you another time. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.